Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night time for another live Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by Tony Has Nine Fingers.
What is going on, people?
And Tony, would you like to introduce our very special guest?
Sure. The director of the movie Marshmallow. We have Daniel DelPurgatorio. Hopefully I said that right.
That was correct. How's it going?
Wow, Tony.
Look at that.
You're coming up in the world.
One for one.
Yeah.
Usually I horribly butcher names, so it's
Take the wins. Take the wins.
Yeah, for real. That was when I was just like, ooh, Tony's gonna have fun with this one. But yeah, so welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your movie, Marshmallow?
Yeah, thanks for having me. We just put out a movie. Marshmallow is a coming of age sci-fi thriller horror film. Super fun project, kid driven gateway horror film. When we had this project, wanted to kind of do something different in the horror world, especially with the summer camp horror. And it was definitely inspired by, a lot of films that we grew up watching. Of course, the Spielbergs and the Stephen King type stuff. And then, a bit of Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then also Black Mirror, Twilight Zone, and wanted to sort of play in all those different areas. And really, more than anything, it's about finding your place in the world as a kid, right? And the horrors that come with that. And I think that, honestly, we've all been there. We're all still trying to find our place in the world. And this movie definitely explores that sort of trauma.
Yeah, that's a big deal when you're a kid trying to find your spot and find friends and find like, okay, I'm part of this group now. Like, it's like, am I one of the cool kids? I guess not.
Yeah, and I feel like that never ends. Like as an adult, like we're all adults, and like I think we're all still trying to find our place in the world, and it's constantly evolving and constantly changing with the times, as well. So
switching to job or whatever, like you're always trying to find your spot and like being like, hey, trying to make friends at work, whatever. Yeah. It's like they're gonna think I'm a weirdo. Yeah, I can already tell because of how they are. They're not gonna like me very much.
What's really funny is like growing up when you're a kid, like you take everything so hard, right? And it's so emotional and so devastating through what you're dealing with outside, but also as you're changing as a person, right? And you don't think it could get worse or it could be harder. And it's not really until you're an adult that you realize like, oh shit, it is actually hard finding new friends when you're an adult or you switch jobs. Like it's a whole different thing, which is super, super weird, right? It's just a weird way of managing and coping with change.
Yeah. We do have Life is Pain is in the chat. So is in Sergio. What's going on, guys? And Life is Pain is actually commenting, it's like such an exciting interview. I love the horror sci-fi with the really great characters, and the child actors were fantastic. The plot was just wow. And the final twist, amazing work, brilliantly shot too.
Oh, thank you so much.
So that answers your question. I guess he did see it in the UK.
Yeah, he's the one who's in the UK, so he did see it.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm not going to ask him how.
Yeah.
But he saw it. But yeah, the someone, yeah, who knows? Maybe an eye patch was involved. Wooden leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how you said that it had that goosebumps feel to it and stuff. Because
Yeah.
when I was watching it, it had that to me, but I wasn't thinking that. But when I did my review, a lot of the comments that I got, it was like, oh, I have a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, and they got to sit down and watch it because in my review, I'm like, it's not too bloody or disgusting or like gore
Yeah.
fest, but it has that thrillerness to it and that like suspense to it.
Yeah.
And they're
Totally.
like, yeah, I think when you said it's a gateway horror, I think it's definitely one of those things where it's like, if you are an adult and you watch horror movies and you want to bring your kid into something, it's like, what movie can I show them where it's
Yeah.
not going to traumatize them too much? I mean, this one, there was a few scenes that I'm like, I'm an adult and it's traumatizing me.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one of those things where it's like, you know, this one I think definitely fits in that small little pocket of here I can show you this as a young teen or whatever, and I won't have any problem showing it to you.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because like when I read the script for the first time, like it was like split in the center for me, where like the child aspect of it, and like me as a kid and growing up, like I like gravitated to that very strongly, and there was stuff that was brought up from my childhood that I related to, and then on the other side, when the film takes a turn, I really gravitated towards that as a parent, as a father of kids. And so there was that aspect that was very horrific to me and something that I could definitely like connect with. So it was interesting to have like two sort of perspectives of the project early on, and it's been exciting to hear people connect with it one way or the other, where they do as an adult, or as a parent, or as an adult that's like reliving childhood. And I think that's what's exciting about art is you sort of make stuff that it splits people, right? And people are going to like or not like stuff and relate to it or not relate to it based on where they are in their life or where they were in their life. And that's the cool thing about what we do.
Yeah, it's good to hear that as well, Tony. I haven't seen the movie, unfortunately, but I know Angel is always looking for a movie that he can share with his kids. So this will be a good one to mention to him.
Yeah, it definitely has that. I mean, there's one scene where it's like, oh, blood, like
They can
and
handle the blood. He just wants to make sure there isn't like nudity.
no,
Stuff
no,
like
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely
My kids
definitely
watched
okay
it.
for that.
Yeah, my kids watched it, and obviously they were like they would see little bits of it as I was working on it, but like it was so exciting for me to like because the film played in theaters, which was cool. So I got to bring my kids to the movies, and like they got to watch it for the first time, right? And to hear my kids go like, "Oh, Dad, I really liked your film," I was like, "Okay, well, I'm fucking done." And like I
And
closed the book, and I can move on with my life because I did something that my kids thought were cool.
mm,
Like one more time, and you took out a voice recorder. What was that?
Yeah, you
I just
got to
wanted to
remember
make sure
that
that
one
this is on tape. Yes.
day. Take it while I can. With that.
Yeah, because when you get older, you may not be so nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sergio was asking if we have a trailer. I did grab the trailer. We usually try to play that around the halfway point, so I'll play that at like 9:30 ish.
Cool.
And but yeah, and that's again, it's another reason because the audio of this show is going to go up on Thursday, and for the audio listeners, you should really watch the show because you get to see the trailers, and plus you get to interact with the guests.
because at that point in time too, you're only hearing and pretending or
You're
trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You had some pretty good names in the cast. I mean, I'm sure everyone was great, but you had some names in there. How did that all come to be? Was there particular producers that had some of these names involved, or was it something that you guys went after you were involved,
Yeah.
attached to the project?
Yeah, it was, we had the project and we talked about, there was a breakdown. Obviously, a majority of the film was kids. So that was like kind of the primary first, agenda. And then for some of the other roles, it was like we just did like casting, we had a great casting director. We had some like people that we were thinking of, and we were very fortunate to be able to get a couple of them and to have really great, like a lot of people read for lots of the different roles. Awesome to be able to, have a really just a solid cast, which is cool. Like I said, it's the film lies on, our main kids, right? It's like, it's not the Goonies, but it's like that same type of thing. You band these kids, right? You're following them becoming friends, and you're following them on a journey. And everything else is in support of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of what it was. And I think too, when we were doing all of our casting as well, we got the kids together before everybody like signed on to the project to make sure everybody got along with each other and they clicked. And it was cool because when we filmed the movie, like they became friends immediately. And then as we filmed, you could tell that their bond was getting tighter and tighter. And so the film, it like, you could see that happening in the movie. So like, as they become friends in the movie, it's like really happening behind the scenes, and they're still like great buddies, and everybody like still talks. And it's that was really special. Yeah.
Yeah, and we mentioned that a lot, where you can tell when watching a movie, you
Yeah.
can tell where it's just like, it just doesn't seem real. And then it's like we've had people on where it's like, oh, so you guys must have worked together before, or you guys must have, got together weeks beforehand. And it's like, no, we just met like 2 days before or the day of or whatever. And it's one of those things where on camera, you could tell where it's like, it either works or it doesn't. And this one, especially, especially with like young kids, I'm sure they can go like off the rails, because how many times do they say, there's two things you don't work with is kids and animals.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm sure it was hard enough to kind of keep them riled, because, a majority of the cast is, younger. They're probably in their teens. So I'm sure that had its own, not problems, but probably made for some interesting times.
Yeah, it was unique because it's funny. Like I read the script. I'm like, oh, this is cool. We decided to do it. Everything was like a go. And then there was that moment where I was like, oh shit, we were making a movie with all kids at night, like in the water, with like effects and like very physical work. And it was like, oh shit, that's like almost everything they tell you not to do, especially for an independent movie, like, but we were very, very fortunate. Like every one of the kids were like fucking pros. Like they were running scenes with the adults, like straight top to bottom, multiple times. Like, and we'd cut and they were running around punching each other in the crotch, fucking, cursing and eating a bunch of like garbage. And then we go, all right, here we go. And then they would snap right up and get into it. And it was damn impressive. Like the movie, like I said, it was all on their shoulders. Like, and they were great. It was cool. And, granted, I'm like a 12-year-old myself. So I fit in perfect with the group.
Yeah, it was, and like, not only did you have the kids, but then you had the technically adults, the older teenagers, the camp counselors, and they fit the roles perfect, because it was one of those things where you want, character development, and that's what you got. You got the people. It's like, I want to see this person. So going into it, I like to not watch trailers and stuff.
Yeah,
so when I first got into it, it was like, oh, okay. It's in my mind, it's like a camp slasher. So I'm like, that person's going to die first. This guy's the asshole and whatever. Yeah. And then the other thing I think you'll appreciate, Kevin, is, we watch movies and then in the middle of it, we try to guess what's going on.
We don't try. Unfortunately, it happens.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this much. You're not going to guess this one.
All right, good.
It's definitely one of those things where I'm like, okay, this is going to happen. Oh, wait, no, that didn't happen. This is going to do this. Wait, no. And then by the end, I'm like, oh, okay, that went totally this way. And I'm like, oh, but it fits. So I think you'll appreciate that, Kevin.
Nice.
Yeah, with the adult, the more adult actors in the film, like, obviously they were cast for very specific reasons, for very specific tropes, right? And that was a really important part of it. And like you said, it's, we didn't make a movie, or the intention wasn't to make something that, like, we said, hey, let's try to come up with a big twist that's going to like that was never the intention. The intention really was like, hey, let's just do something different that speaks to us on different levels and take a swing and see, with independent films, you could do that. You could take a swing. And like I said, some people are going to like it, some people aren't, but that's the fun part about creating art. You know what I mean? Is that not having restrictions and boundaries. Right. And yeah, just go for it.
Nice.
Yeah, on IMDb, what I like to do is when I watch a movie, I go on Instagram and tag everybody in it and on the picture and stuff.
Yeah.
And then on the Instagram on the IMDb page, you'll have like reviews on the bottom, and I'm reading them, and most of them are positive. Then one comes up, and they're like, "They waited too long for the plot of this movie," and I'm like, what are you talking? They're like, it would have been better if they told a story like 30 minutes or 40 minutes into it. I'm like, and you wouldn't have a freaking movie. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what are you talking about? It was perfectly done. You find out what you need to, the last part of the movie. It's like, what are you talking about?
You have to earn a movie. And that used to never be a thing back in the day when we were watching movies in like the 70s and the 80s and like, even early 90s. Like that was part of the thrill of a movie. Is that it's the experience. You get pulled into a world, right? And you get to earn the payoff, right? And it feels more rewarding. And like I feel that, nowadays, for good or as bad, with like so many of these like big like super like hero movies and all of these big action movies, it's like you get right into it. And because you're so familiar with where they come from, maybe it's easier, but like I feel that people don't like the build up as much as they used to. I'm still a fan. Like I still love all the movies I grew up on because you feel invested in it.
I love a good slow burn. Give me a good slow burn any day.
But the thing is, with this one, it's not like a slow burn because it's like you still learn, you get the character development. It's not like it's like dull and then it builds up. Not, I guess a little slow, but you get character development. You kind of get to the camp, which has its own thing, and then it builds. So
it's very intentional. Every beat of it is very intentional, and it's like you got to invest the time or not, And I get it. Like everyone's got a specific taste of how they like their movies and what they want to watch at that specific time at night or in their life, and sometimes it speaks to you, sometimes it doesn't, and that's just part of the game,
Right.
Yeah, for me it was.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying for me, I watched it and loved it. So I guess I watched it at the right point in time or whatever.
Yeah.
I was going to say we mentioned Angel earlier. He's in the chat saying, "My beautiful people, how are we doing tonight?" So Angel, if you're still watching, because it was a couple minutes ago that he posted that, you should check out Marshmallow with the kids. It's something that you can watch with the boys. So, check it out. It's appropriate to be watched with kids, even though it's got some moments that are like, oof. There's no nudity.
No nudity. Yeah.
But yeah, Tony gave his half of a thumb up or whatever.
I have a full thumb. It's the pointer finger that's the half. So
that's right.
Get it right. But the other thing I must say is, with the main character Mason, right? Morgan. Yeah. That's what it is. And as like there was some scenes I was like, man, like I got uncomfortable for him. There was a few scenes where he breaks down or whatever, and it's just like, he has control of what he's doing, because I'm sure some kids kind of probably would have taken it off the rails and went like completely, for some of the scenes it was very like intense. So I'm sure that he has his acting chops in order.
Yeah, especially shooting it too. It was emotional and some stuff. And like this kind of goes back to your question about casting. Like most of the kids were like true to the role that they were playing, in the sense that like that it was them. Right. And so like Hugh, who played Morgan, like he very much related to the role. Like he experienced a lot of that stuff in his life. He's an introvert for sure. And he had a near drowning experience in his life, which the film plays up a lot as well. So there were scenes that, he had to get emotional on, and he brought the real thing to it, because that was him. And, part of what was important is like when we read through the script together and we were talking with them, it's like, hey, how would you say this? How do you guys talk? Like, And they're like looking around like, okay, there's no parents here. I would say, fuck this shit, or I would say this. And I'm like, yeah, that's like, we wanted the kids to take what the core message was in each scene and translate it into how they talk and how they discuss. And, as old dudes, like, I mean, I go to my kids' middle school and I hear the kids talking and half of the shit, I don't even understand what they're saying, but it's crazy. And I remember doing that when I was a kid. So this was like very, very true to how they act and how, like it wasn't different when we shut the camera off to what they were doing on screen, which was crazy.
That's pretty cool though, that that they were able to be their real selves. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And part of that comes, obviously with a trust with them. Like when we all first met, they realized really quick that I was a total nerd. And we like hit it off. And then like I met with their parents and I wanted their parents to know who I was, and I have kids, and, like I'm here to make sure that everything is like fun, safe, whatever. And so I got along great with the parents, I got along great with the kids. And I think it was just this really nice collaborative relationship where everybody felt comfortable and they liked that they were being treated as adults. Then they weren't like a lot of movies treat kids like they're just objects, right? They're like little chess pieces on the board and you just move them around to wherever you need. And then you tell them what to do and then you move them somewhere else. And this was like the opposite. Like, we're like, you guys are the adults here. You're running the show. We're just following you. And they felt in control of that. You know what I mean? And that gave them like a power and a confidence, which I think is cool.
Yeah, and you tapped into a market that you don't usually see often.
Yeah.
I mean, there's horror movies with kids in them, but there's few and far between where it's like kid-driven horror movies. Like there's a few like Cooties or Kids versus Aliens or whatever, but there's not many where it's like, okay, you get a lot of the kids are the main driving force through the movie. So it's like, it's definitely one that, I don't see very often.
Right. At least nowadays. I mean, Stand By Me, I guess.
Stand By Me, yeah.
Yeah, that's still one of my all-time favorite movies. So.
Well, and that's it. Think about the films that we loved. It's like Goonies, Stand By Me, Monster Squad, all of these like heavy, like It, all of these films that like put the kids in control, right? And that's fun to like watch somebody overcome an obstacle that's at that age, And like when we shot this, these kids were 11 years old, 12 years old. Like that's, they weren't like 16-year-olds playing 11 or 12-year-olds. They were like actual young kids.
And as a kid, seeing like movies like we were just talking about, that was empowering as a kid to see that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, it's so awesome that this kid that's like around my age can do this and whatever. And they made such a cool movie and it's so good and so quotable and
definitely opens the world for sure.
So Wolfie's in the chat and he's asking if you forgot about Bloody Birthday, Children of the Corn, The Omen, and he said real horror.
Yeah, but the thing is, at that point, in the last say 20 years, we haven't had much.
Right.
In the 80s and 90s, it was like
there was a bunch. But
at that point in time, they have creative ideas back then, and then the 2000s were a bunch of
it's like
reboots, remakes, and
all the money. That's it. But yeah. And that's where we bring it up all the time. But we see most of the creativity coming from the independent stuff, anyways. Like that's how it's been for a while,
Yeah.
So that's good. That's why we like talking to you guys, is because you guys seem to be doing the more original and just taking the bigger risks,
Yeah, the cool thing with independent horror films as well is like we're all out here championing one another, right? Like the more independent films that are made and the more that we can support each other and talk it up, the more that the big studios and the big people are going to look down and realize that there is a drastic want for this stuff, right? And at a lower level, you have the opportunity to take those risks and to just take a chance. And I think that the more that bigger studios see that, the more films like Barbarian and Weapons and all of these crazy films that are coming, Companion, all these movies that are coming out nowadays it gets the platform. You know what I mean? Because there was a time where, man, like we were suffering like in the entertainment industry because nobody wanted to take a chance, right? They wanted the immediate success of something that they knew was going to bring in money, whether it was good or bad. And us fans of films were not. We were just getting scraps over and over again. And every so often, you have these really great films that come out of nowhere, where studios are like, oh shit, now we have the A24s and the Neons and companies like that are just fucking creating awesome shit. And they're fully behind the independent makers of it. You know what I mean? They don't care about anything except that these directors and writers and producers are getting to make what they want. So yeah, it's something we all have to work on together to keep fucking breaking through and to keep like, punching up at the big ones to keep taking those chances and those risks and being those great, filmmakers.
Us as fans, it's a good time to be a fan because there's so much good stuff out right now.
Plus with like, Shudder and then Screambox. Now there's another one I was talking about last week. It's called Screamify. Yeah. Where I was talking to the guy that puts it out, and he's like, anything that's going to be on my stuff is all independent. He's like, I can't stand mainstream horror. He's like, it ran its course at one point in time. You needed that to have the independent scene, but now it's it doesn't fulfill anything anymore. So he's like, if I'm going to show anything on this, it's going to be all independent stuff. So
yeah, that's cool as shit. And like honestly, at the end of the day, if you think about it, like I'd rather have 100 like independent movies where people are like swinging for the fences and succeeding or not, but like starting the conversation of people talking about whether they like or don't like it, rather than a rehash of something that they know no one's gonna like. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna get more victories out of those types of movies than we are of them just doing the same thing again and getting like, oh, we're gonna land X amount of dollars, we know it, and that's gonna cover the cost, and we're gonna just farm out the next one.
Yeah, I mean, with the rehash of stuff, it's like how much of it has actually been successfully done. It's so far and few between. Like there are some that were done well, but it's very, very few.
Yeah,
but they just keep doing it because they're like, all right, there's a fan base for the original, even though the original might be something that's extremely independent, it's extremely low budget, whatever. They'll put a ton of money into a remake, and it'll flop.
Well, that's a problem. It's all dwindling down because the people that they think are fans of the original have seen so much shit come out that it's like, I'm not even going to bother with, okay, you just made a remake of something. I'm not even going to bother because 90% of everything that you put out is garbage. So I don't need to waste my time. So what they think is they can get two groups of people, the new watchers and the old watchers, and bring them together. But now you just got the new watchers and
the old watchers are already jaded because they've seen so much garbage. Yeah.
And then the new stuff, they're like, oh, well, this isn't that good either. So they lose both.
It's tough too, like, especially with like our current, like, the way that, social works and like all of the how the platforms are, it's like a blessing and a curse, right? It's so good because things get out and spread around, but it also can control the fate of art, of a project before it even sees the light of day. And like I was talking to my buddy the other day and I was like reading all these articles before the new Pixar movie came out, right? And they were just, every article was just talking about how the movie flopped. Oh, this is flop. This is gonna be the worst, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the movie's not even in theaters like for another like 2 weeks. And like, this is the discussion on every single publication right now as I'm scrolling through whatever. And I was like, it just made me sad to think that like, somebody decided that this was going to be the fate of it. And it kind of drove it. You know what I mean? It's crazy how that works.
It is crazy. I mean, because not for nothing, Pixar, if one thing they can do is they can pull at your heartstrings. They know how to do that very well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've seen very few Pixar movies that I'm like, that was a piece of garbage. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like Pixar, they generally put out a solid product. It may not be necessarily for me all the time, but
Yeah, it's interesting, and like, of course there's influence on what that, like, I'm an old dude, right? So like, if I know I'm gonna watch a movie, I'm the same as you, Tony. I don't watch the trailer. I'm like, cool, I want to see this movie, I'm gonna go see it. I don't read anything about it. Like, I don't care if somebody doesn't like that I like it. Like, that's part of, like, that's part of the enjoyment for me, right? And so like, I think it's important now, you can influence what other people are going to like or not like before they even have the opportunity to decide for themselves. And it's a tough balance, you know what I mean? And again, like I said, I feel the more that we all support everything that's out there, the better it is for all of us. Even if you don't like something, it gives you more stuff down the line, whether you realize it at the time or not, you know?
Yeah, we've said it plenty of times before. We're doing this podcast, especially for me. When I used to watch, I don't want to say I was jaded or anything, but when I first started watching movies, I look at it completely different now than I
Yeah.
used to. Because especially like indie films, I would look at an indie film that was like low budget, and crap on it to begin with, and then I realized I have no idea what goes into making a movie. I have no idea what happened during. Plenty of things could happen, and
Yeah.
they put out the final project that they could.
Yep.
And then, so I'll watch a movie, sometimes it falls short and, whatever, but I look at it completely different than I used to before doing all this. And it's like, maybe sometimes people have to just sit there and, think or talk to someone or whatever. And it's just like,
Yeah.
our saying all the time is, I've never made a movie, so it's better than anything.
Yeah, it's better than anything I've ever put out because I've never put anything out.
And
It
it's
makes
subjective.
sense to put out a movie.
Yeah. And it's
Something
subjective. You know what I mean? It's so subjective. And it's like, I feel that the best reviews are, watch this movie and it didn't do it for me, or like, because it just didn't work for me. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that you didn't like it. It could be a terrible movie. There could be a lot of things wrong with it, but somebody else might like it. And like, that's part of the game,
That kind of goes into Life is Pain is asking, how do you deal with keyboard haters on reviews on your film? Some people don't want to give independent, low-budget movies a chance and expect AAA rather than just enjoying the film. Do you ever do you respond to any of these people, or do you just let it go?
Yeah, I don't get into any of that stuff. Like, I don't do any of the review sites. Like, I don't review any of the movies that I watch. It's just, again, it's so subjective, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's easy to have 10 people say they like something and one person say they don't like it, and that's all you remember.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like, at the end of the day, you just got to be into what you are doing. And if you're happy with it and the people you work with are happy with it, like, kind of let it out in the world. There's no way you could ever make something that everybody's going to like. It's just, unless it's Sinners or something like that, you know what I mean? But like, very rarely is there something that, everybody will like, and that's okay. Like, and that's part of, I think what's really exciting is if you do something and there's vocal people on both sides. This fucking sucks. This is fucking awesome. This is like super cheap. This is like, looks super great. Like, terrible acting, fantastic acting. There's going to be one person that's going to say this and one person is going to say the complete opposite. And
let them argue it out. You can just sit back and be like, let's watch this all burn. Yeah.
Because at that point in time, what did they say? Any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
So even if it's bad or they commenting or whatever, it's like, hey, you watched it, you had to have seen it. Well, let me track that back, because there's a lot of people out there that probably, they just say stuff to say stuff. They never seen it, but they go with the narrative, and it's like, yeah, the movie sucks. Did you watch it? No. It's like, okay, well, where are you coming from? It's like, then it's like the comments that are just like, so, like, why didn't you like it? Because I didn't like it. Well, what was wrong with it? I just didn't like it. It's like, oh, okay,
what didn't you like about it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough
example.
It's a tough balance for sure. It's like, anybody can say anything at any point on any platform. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and if somebody went out of their way to talk shit, like, cool. They actually spent the time to get on a website to talk shit because it meant something to them. So
it hurt them that much. Yeah.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is, at least give some kind of constructive criticism. Like, don't just like sit there and be like, I'm not going to see this movie just because this person's in it. And or like, but you're leaving a review.
Yeah.
Like that's not a review.
It's not a review. And most, honestly, that's the thing with most online stuff, right? It's not really reviews, even positive stuff. It's people saying things. It's like people want to be funny, people want to be hurtful, people want to be clever, whatever it is. It's not. It doesn't help the cause in general, not just whatever movie you're talking about, just the whole thing. And like, we're the first ones to bitch when things aren't coming, like we're not getting the stuff that we want, right? But like, can't bitch if we're not out there supporting it all. So
right, exactly.
Yeah.
On that note, we do need to play the trailer. Well, it's not that we need to. We want to play the trailer. Let me see. Here it is. So it's about 1 minute and 32 seconds. We'll be right back, and here is the trailer for Marshmallow.
I hear that you are going to summer camp.
I'm being sent to summer camp.
Sweetie, tell your counselors if you have any trouble sleeping, they can get in touch with us.
Hey, welcome back, guys. Hey, how are y'all? Welcome.
I know you don't understand this, but you need this. And I swear it's gonna be the best summer ever.
First year here?
Yeah?
I can tell.
Your file mentioned that you have nightmares sometimes. There used to be cabins all throughout these woods. One of those cabins belonged to a doctor. He had this huge cellar in the basement. If you stay up too late, or if you leave your cabin past curfew, you just might see the doctor.
I saw him.
He's not real, Morgan. It's just a dumb story.
It's the doctor! He's real!
Here you go. Now we just have to wait to see if
Sergio saw it.
see if Sergio is just like, nope. Yep.
Yeah, there was a few scenes that I wondered how you got some of the effects going in that dream sequence in the bed.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder how they did that one, because that
All,
was
all practical. Everything was practical for sure, which is
that's
cool.
awesome to hear, because it's too many times do we hear, it was a little practical and most of it was CG, and it's like, because sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't.
The cool thing with this is there was that bed scene that you saw in there, and there was a scene where he's sitting at the table. Like it was awesome to be able to build like some water, like sets submerged in water. Like that was fucking awesome. Like our production designer like figured out and made gigantic tanks and built sets in and under the water, and the fucking roof was like pouring all over the place, and it was fucking cool. Really cool.
Yeah, some of them I was like, the conversation with him and his grandfather and all that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well that looks very interesting. And
yeah.
And that's the one thing too, where it's like, it's not the budget, but if you know what you're doing with it, it's many a times where it's like you could have the best budget in the world or biggest budget in the world and not know what you're doing, and it turns out to be something horrible. Or you can have a budget where you know what you're doing, you work with it with what you got, and the people behind it make it look like a couple $1 million project and stuff like that. So it's like you see it both ways, where it's like you could shoot on a camera that might not be the best quality, but you know what to do with it. And then other people have like the best in the world, and it's like it looks like anything else. I don't know what you're shooting on, kind of deal. So
yeah, it's all about putting the right people in the right places, and honestly, like at the end of the day, every project is a product of the team that works on it, right? Like a director is just helping steer the ship, but everybody else is like firing on all cylinders in every department. And like for me personally, it always bums me out when I see a movie and it's like a film by blank. I just think that is it's just not giving credit to everybody. Like it should be a film by and then show the fucking titles or the credits. You know what I mean? Because it's again, it's a group effort, and yeah.
Because especially, some people are watching the movies in different ways, and it's like, if someone's doing the special effects, learning the name, and then it's like, oh, this is what I want to do with the rest of my. Some people watch it for different reason, and it's like, okay, I will follow the director, I follow the writer, or I follow, the, like I said, the special effects people, and this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. But most of the time, it's the director's name is right there, which it takes a lot too. It's like it's not just steering a ship; it's steering a ship with hundreds of people behind you. So
absolutely. I mean, it's its own, there's its own challenges, but like for me personally, like I learned early on is like surround yourself with people that are way better than you, and I definitely have always done that. Like, and everybody that worked on this movie was way better than me on every level, and I was lucky to be able to work with them. And at the end of the day, like when you make a project, like you want everybody to feel like they put themselves in it and they can feel their thumbprint on it, right? And that's really, really important, because if people don't feel like that, then what was all the blood and sweat and tears for? Right? So,
have you worked with anybody before, or is it the first time you're working with them, or
like people on the crew?
Yeah.
Cast and crew. I mean, all the cast was new. I had worked with a handful of the crew before, and then there was a lot of new people that I met through my producers, and then also with some of the people that I had worked with. So it was really, really cool, really special. Like, it was funny. Obviously, we shot at a camp the entire time, so it felt like I was at summer camp for the weeks that we were there, which was really, really awesome.
That's cool. How long have you been in the business? Like, and what was there a particular something that made you want to get into the business?
Yeah, I went to school for illustration, so I graduated with a FA in illustration and a minor in design. And when I was in school, I got hired at a animation studio. And so I went to work at an animation studio, and it was like commercial and half like animated films. So I was doing like storyboards and concept art and stuff like that. And then I got into like motion graphics and animating, which I love to do. And it was a lot of, I could do that. And then people would like start giving me stuff. I'm like, fuck, I got to teach myself how to do this. And so really spent my early portion of my career in animation, but I've always loved film. And then, when I started my own company, I was with all my buddies, and we're like, hey, let's take a break from doing commercials and start making just some short horror films. And we started making stuff, and we got to play in festivals. And at those festivals, I met tons of people who become really good friends, and we all started working together. And I'd always work on their films, they work on mine. And it was just something we did for fun, and then always wanting to do a feature, and then had the opportunity. I had made a short, and I met the producer on this film at a festival. We hit it off and kept in touch, and then this project came to. And so, yeah, it's weird how that works out, so that was it. Yeah. I mean, obviously when I was young, I stole my dad's cassette tape of Mad Max, Friday the 13th Part 2, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And those were like the first time that I saw movies like that at a young age. I was watching more of like Spielberg and that kind of stuff, and I was like, holy shit, that these movies, they like really fucked me up for different levels. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that with film. Like, movies could make you feel like that, and that was always just exciting to me. And like, maybe one day I could, try to make a movie. Yeah.
And now you're doing it.
And now I'm doing it. I'm trying to make movies now. Yes.
Well, you did a good job on this one for sure. Because like I talking about before, with like resonating. I mean, talking about how teenagers could watch this movie and feel like they could do this kind of deal But then you also get the older crowd, which were teenagers at one point in time, that bring back that nostalgia feel where it's like, especially people that went to a camp and, you know, there's always scary stories getting told around. And it's like, oh, you imagine if it was real? Well, yeah, this one's real kind of deal. So it's like.
That's been the fun part, is actually hearing from people saying that they, you know, and hearing experiences like, oh man, I went to camp and this happened, or I could relate with this character. Like that's like really special. You know what I mean? Like, especially something like you make as a filmmaker or as an artist or whatever, musician, you work with blinders on to some extent, and then your baby gets released into the wild, right? And then to hear somebody talk to you about an experience or something in their life that they connect to your art is so cool. And it's like, yeah, it's really special that you could do something that somebody else can like pick up onto or latch onto. Again, good or bad, it's really, really magical, you know?
And then people like, you know, you had a vision of the movie, but then everybody watches it and that vision turns into, you know, 30 different visions where it's like, I think this movie is about this, or I think the plot is about this, and this is what they were really saying. So it's like, you might have one idea in mind, but then 15 other ideas come from it, because it's like everybody's looking at it completely different. Or like I was saying before, it's like some people looked at it and they're like, oh, this is like a more adultish Goosebumps, or like Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, or Twilight Zone, or, you know, it's kind of. And then with the poster art, I'm looking at it. I'm like, I wonder where they got the Thing and all that stuff. So it's like, you know, homage to a little bit of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's always the fun thing, is like you as artists, everybody, you pull from the stuff that you love, right? And you put it through your personal filter, right? And everything has been done in one form or another, but it gets filtered through a specific person and a specific person's vision, right? And all of our favorite artists that, you know, illustrators and painters that we've seen, or musicians, you're like, I love this band. It sounds, you could tell they were inspired by these bands, and then they took it and made it their own thing. And same thing with movies. Like everybody, you know, and every so often there's somebody that like starts the new thing, but it's always taking the things you like and, you know, pushing them through your sort of perspective.
Yeah, as long as they take from, you know, their influence and use that to grow, and not just try to copy it as exactly, you know.
That's 100% it.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? Like when I was in school as like doing illustration stuff, like there was this moment like early on in my life, like I'd always draw to have fun. I loved it. I felt like I had a style. And then it wasn't until I got into college and I was like drawing that I got influenced, and like my style changed so many times, and like faster than I could keep up with. I'm like, oh, I love this artist. And then I would start to want to draw like that. I love this artist. And like, I got into this like identity crisis where I wasn't trusting what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And like, and it was just becoming a fucking mess of shit. And then finally, like I was talking to a friend, and they're like, no, dude, like you had something, do what you like to do your thing. And when that happened, it like clicked. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to like draw and paint the way that I like. And then I found myself again. And you got to do that. You know what I mean? And it's easy to, especially now, like everything's at your fingertips. It's really easy to lose your path. But yeah.
Yeah. It's something that I don't know if it's me just overthinking a lot, but I'm a huge fan of music. I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stand-up comics that I'm like, they're doing a David Tell imitation right now. That's what they're doing. You know, or, you know, music, I'm like, this is, they're just trying to be Helmet.
Yeah.
Like,
Helmet or AC/DC, those are the two that we always say. It's like, oh yeah, they're trying to be AC/DC, they're trying to be Helmet. Like,
yeah, no, but there's a band that I actually enjoy quite a bit that I'm like, they have to be heavily influenced by Helmet. And I read an interview or saw an interview with them, and sure enough, they are. They admitted that they're very. It was a band called Whores. And
I love Whores. I fucking love them.
Yeah, and they're very much influenced by Helmet, because I'm just like, it was almost like I was describing them as like a cross between like the Melvins and Helmet.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty decent.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, people always like, I have a shirt that says horrors.
Yeah. I'm afraid to own one.
Yeah.
Because of what I do for work, and I don't want, like, I work for homeless shelters. I don't want to walk around wearing a horse shirt.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. My wife is like, you cannot wear that shirt around the kids.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that makes sense. So I'm like, I'm walking my kid to school. I'm like, fuck, I got to put my flannel on. Like, I can't have this shirt on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them live. But
I've seen it a few times. They're loud as shit.
yeah, they seem it.
Yeah.
Tony, get on the bandwagon. Listen to horrors.
Okay, sounds good. Listen, everybody who's listening and watching, listen to horrors, okay?
Yes. Good time. But yeah, anyways, it's almost about that time. So where can people go to find out what else you have going on? Like, do you have social media that you're active in, or is there a place where just if people want to follow your day by day? I don't know, like your fans.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Daniel.DelPurgatorio is the handle. And then I have a website, delpurgatorio.com, which has a bunch of my short films and stuff about this movie. And yeah, we have a new project that we are working on right now that is going to be announced very soon. And it is very different than Marshmallow on every level. But it's very, very cool. Yeah.
Nice. And you can see Marshmallow pretty much everywhere on video on demand.
Yeah, Marshmallow's video on demand right now. So it's on Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Fandango, all of that stuff. I think you could rent it's like $4.99 or something like that, or purchase it. And we have some really cool merch stuff coming out as well very shortly. So that'll be exciting.
Will there be a physical release?
Yeah, we're working on that right now. We obviously have posters based on the art that you've seen. We have really cool camp shirts, and we have 375 carded action figures of one of the characters from the movie, which is, I'm a nerd and I love my toys, so I'm thrilled about that. I actually got the factory prototype in the mail today, which is really cool. So yeah.
I'm a nerd when it comes to figures and stuff too. I call it kit bashing, even though it's not really kit bashing. I take 3D models and I bash them together, and I make my own 3D models. And I made a Kenner style Chewbacca, so it's Chewbacca with He-Man's hair and He-Man's armor.
I love it. I have outside of this wall, everything around me is our toys.
Yeah.
And I have a bunch of like the Mexican plastic blown He-Man, the gigantic He-Man figures.
Nice.
Like I got into like super like weird, obscure, like bootleg figures, as well as my like NECA and Super 7, like 7-inch figures.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I just had there's some things that I look at and I'm like, oh, I would love to have, but me, I'm a movie collector, so I have no room for anything. It's like, where do you find the room to do that? But it's like, some of the things like Killer Clowns from Outer Space is my favorite horror movie of all time. Speaking of like taking chances and independent movies, it's like, and that's the one thing too with independent films, like those are the ones you remember forever, because those are the ones where the plot line is like all over the place, and you're like, was that a fever dream movie, or did I actually watch something like that? Where, as opposed to like other ones where it's just like, you name a plot and it's like there's 15 movies with that exact same plot with 15 different titles, but then it's like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Yeah, you have to pop their nose to kill them, and they put you in Cotton Canyon. It's like, find me another movie like that, and I'll be, unless you're making like a spoof like, Killer Clown. With, that little Temu thing you got me instead of Killer Clowns.
I bought him a Lego set. It's a bootleg Lego set but it's Killer Clown from Outer Space, even though there's two of them.
That's so good. That's
but
funny.
It's Temu, so
it's like we're in a time right now too where collecting anything is insane. Like back in the day when we would go to like sci-fi conventions or whatever, like it was just like us nerdy dudes there, and now it's so popular, and there's so many people and so many companies are making so many things that it's like hard to keep up with it. You know what I mean? There's just so much shit. It's crazy.
Because then you find it.
Stuff off. I'm honestly, I've played music for a very long time, and I'm getting back into playing out and stuff like that. So I'm upgrading gear and all this stuff. So I'm selling stuff, and I'm like, this is just gonna sit here. So
yeah,
I've been selling stuff to fund new gear.
Yeah,
so
because it's like there's a new company that comes out for collecting or like movies. Speaking of like A24 and then Neon, and then you have like Arrow and Severn and Vinegar Syndrome and all these. They come out and then they put out these awesome sets, and then they put out special editions, and it's like, oh, I love it. My wallet's hurting, but I love it, and it's just like, you know, restoring movies that you never thought you'd see again, or movies that were like, you know, lost in the annals of time, and then they're bringing it back, and it's just like, love it, but
yeah, it hurts the wallet, that's for sure. I remember my wife one time sent out a picture to like a group family chat, and she was holding a copy of Frankenhooker that I had gotten in the mail, and she was like, Danny really needed to upgrade his copy of Frankenhooker, and she sent that to like all the family, and I thought that was really funny, and I was like, I did need to upgrade it. It's a nice new release. But we were moving, and my wife was like, I packed the entire house and you packed your office. That's how bad it's gotten. So I'm in the same boat as you guys for sure.
Yeah.
I got the Blu-ray Frankenhooker, and I got Patty Mullins to sign it
on
a date. So she was holding up the Blu-ray. She was all dressed up in gear at the con, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then it's like, want a date? And I'm like, yep. And then they're like, oh, what the hell is Frankenhooker? I'm like, go ahead and watch it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and, you know, another movie where, you know, find me another movie where the girl gets run over by a lawnmower and then put back together, and then all of it. So
yeah,
independent movies are great.
Yeah.
On that note, Tony, we have to find out where people can follow you.
Well, you can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, which I haven't done a video in a long time, but I have enough backlog where you can check out my reviews, movie updates, and stuff like that. Tony Has Nine Fingers on X, which I don't use, but it's part of my shtick. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok, which is my fastest growing. You'll find me there the most, where I do reviews, showing off the movies behind me that maybe you forgot about. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me. And, of course, here on the Wicked Horror Show, most Tuesdays, whether we have an awesome guest or it's just, you know, horror movie chit-chat. Yeah, Kevin.
Just A Knuckle on Instagram. Besides this, I'm also doing That Strange Show when it happens. I'm part of that. And, other than that, I'm not really doing much else. Like I was saying, I'm starting to try to play out more. Just played a Juneteenth celebration last weekend. That was fun.
What kind of music?
This was a work band that we put together. It's all covers. I'm starting another like original band with some friends. It's definitely more aggressive kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dropping Helmet and Horrors. I figured that would be your aesthetic.
Yeah. I like a lot of weird stuff too. The band I've seen the most in my life is They Might Be Giants.
Sure. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like weirder stuff. I'm a big fan of Mike Patton. So anything Patton touches, fan of. I don't know. I like. I've been getting into some Australian bands recently. Have you ever heard of Private Function?
Yeah.
Private Function's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Even like early, like I don't like the direction that A Mill and the Sniffers have gone, but I like early stuff from them.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, someone was talking about them, and I was like, them in the chats it's like evolutions of each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like one does something, and then the other does it like a peer, and then the next one does it, and they're like, obviously the Sniffers have, you know, I guess they kind of both have, but
were they the ones in Chappie?
No, that was the Antword.
The Antword,
they've read up on them if you want to know what they were up to. Not good stuff.
No, got crazy.
Yeah. And then there's only like one show that I'm planning on going to like so far this year, and it's Frankie and the Witch Fingers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know have you heard of them?
Yeah.
They a new album just came out, but yeah, they're playing out in Boston at a club that I used to play at. But they're playing out there in October in Boston, so I'm planning on going.
That's awesome.
Because they look like they like I've seen live videos and stuff, and they put on a pretty energetic show.
That's cool. We go to a lot of shows in Chicago. A buddy of mine that I grew up with, he lives out here as well, and me and him, we go to shows all the time, which is great because we definitely get a decent amount of bands coming through, which is cool. So
yeah.
I
mean, there's more shows that come through. I'm in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is about like 45 minutes to an hour outside of Boston.
Yeah.
And I'm also getting old. And I also have to go to work early in the morning. So it's like I don't go to shows like I used to anymore.
Yeah. I feel it though. Then the next day usually it's like I get home and I'm like, that was awesome. The next morning I wake up, I can't hear anything.
Oh yeah.
I'm like fucking tired. I'm like sitting at my desk like, oh, this is so bad.
Yeah, we played on Saturday at the Juneteenth celebration, and we were done by 3:30. I was asleep by 5.
That's me.
Because it was like wicked hot out. It was outdoors.
Yeah.
I had to load all my gear from like the back of the park all the way down the side and whatever. And I'm just like, I'm too old for this.
My wife gave me a hard time this morning. She's like, you fucking got into bed and were sleeping by like 7 o'clock last night. I'm like, I was tired. And it wasn't 7 o'clock. She goes, no, it was 7 o'clock. I'm like, all right, that's where I'm at in life. So.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Yeah. So,
how old of a guy are you?
I am 44.
I'm a good amount older than you.
Oh, you look way younger than me. So
because I don't have kids. Kids are great. They're the best part of my job. Honestly, they're the best part of my job. Like I could be having the worst day ever, and some little kid will come by and give me a fist bump, and it'll make my day. But I also like when they go home.
Yes. I always tell my kids, I'm like, go home. They're like, I am home. I'm like, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, but I'm going to be 50 this year. So
really,
yeah.
Oh well, you look like you're a nice young 25. So
I don't know about that, but but yeah, it's I don't know.
And Tony, you're half both of our ages, right?
Yeah, I wish. I just turned 40.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, he's still the youngin' though.
Yeah.
But anyway,
one day when you reach our age, you'll understand some of the things that we're talking about.
By that time, I'll be long gone. Yeah. But anyways, on that note, we're going to let you guys go. Tony, if you could stick around for a couple minutes afterwards, I just need to do one thing with you real quick. But thank you very much for coming on, sir. And I will check out the movie, and I will leave a review, and it will be honest, and it won't be petty like some... But yeah, I will be. Yeah,
you'll like it. It, like I said, it's one of those things where it's like I was watching and I'm like, this is going to happen. No, it didn't. This is going to happen. No, wait, no, it didn't. Then I'm like, oh, okay, that's where it went.
Oh, this movie's good. All right, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like when that stuff happens because so many movies are too predictable. So that's a plus.
Yes.
So yeah, thanks again for coming on. And if anything else, if you ever want to come on again, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Good talking with you guys.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So thanks for watching / listening, everyone. And have a good night. And we'll see you next time.